Somehow I woke up out in Beverly, fucked up, smelling like that bourbon. How'd I end up alone? I'm not certain. Girls impolite in the club every night. That's how it goes when you're Hollywood perfect. Hollywood perfect. Hollywood perfect. Hollywood perfect. That's how it goes when you Hollywood perfect.
Yeah, I'm on my way home. I'm no good for you, so I drive around Manhattan. They're all laughing, oh, I'm tragic. Yeah, I'm driving in my car and seeing open, but I can't go down that road again. I'll smoke a cigarette, but will that help me forget you? Will that help me forget you? I just need to forget you. Oh, you. I need to treat you better than that and make you feel like I did in the past. Oh, I will treat you better than that. I don't need to forget you. I need to treat you better than that and make you feel like I did in the past. Oh, I will treat you better than that. I don't need to forget you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to TTML Division 1. We are here for Season 3. It is Round 11, the season finale in the Championship, as we take in the Abu Dhabi circuit from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix from the Yas Marina circuit. My name is James. I'm going to be taking you through the stream as always, and joining me in the commentary box, it is Mr. Luke Etheridge. Luke, how you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Good evening, James. Good evening to everyone that is watching at home. Abu Dhabi, we spoke before the stream. It's one of those tracks you put into the categories in real Formula One. Oh, why Abu Dhabi? Why is it here? But generally, in league racing, tends to provide good action. Those two DRS straights coming out of the first sector on the run through all the second sector do seem to provide some good action, and you get a good mix of strategies here. So definitely a race I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it is going to be fantastic to see, I think, how all of this is going to unfold out on track, of course. Just to remind you as well, Perpetuum picked up the Drivers' Championship last week. There is the graphic showing it as well. He's got 2 Drivers' titles to his name, Medium Pilot on 1. Not sure if Medium Pilot's going to be here. It'd be fantastic to have both champions here for the season finale rolling into tonight. But in terms of the podiums last week, it was a bit of a shock. Normally, we like to coin the phrase bottle lily but we'll go with Chapelelli because he actually won last time out in Brazil. Made it at Williams 1-2 as well. Jiao in second, Perpetuum in third. Perpetuum, of course, wrapping up the championship. But Chapelelli really came into his own last week.
Yeah, definitely. It was a fantastic performance. We've always known that Chapelelli has had the pace. He has had a pole position this season. In a few races, he was a bit unlucky with, various incidents and making contact with drivers. But such a supremely clean performance as well, did fantastically well, sticking behind his teammate in the first stint, taking the advantage when he had the chance, and yeah, just drove an absolutely super race. Jiao, like you said, finishing in second, Perpetuum doing enough to claim the championship. And one thing I remember from last week was just how close the entire field was. So if you picked up a 3-second penalty or more, and I do think penalties will play a much bigger part tonight than they did at Interlagos, I expect to hear plenty of track limits talk if you're not sick to death of that from the real Formula One. That's going to play a big part tonight. And if the field is as close as it was at Brazil, you could easily see drivers dropping 4, 5, 6 positions at the checkered flag.
Yeah, it could lead to a lot of invalidations out on track, and it could also lead to you trying to track staying 29 times and getting away with it. But there we are. Perpetuum has picked up 1 win this season and has got 7 podiums to his name. He leads the championship on 197 points, already wrapped up the title, so that is over and done with. The main focus, though, in the drivers' standings is for second. Matthias in second on 150, Laser third on 136, Medium Pilot fourth on 127, and Verstappen in fifth on 120. That battle for second is quite close. There's battle for other positions within that as well. But 30 points separating 4 drivers out on track rolling into tonight could be quite a fascinating one to look at. Jiao in 6th on 105, Bullet Boy in 7th on 97, Chapelelli 8th on 94, Lando in 9th on 87, and Mashiro in 10th on 83. Running down the rest of the drivers' standings, we've got Noon, Kuhn Bly, Amazing Hour, Dobby, Volbeek and Carlsby tied on 66 points in 15th. Datamo, Imadi, Zerdamer and Recon all filling out the top 20 positions. Constructors' standings, the permutations for that we'll announce in just a second, but Ferrari lead on 263, Red Bull in second on 231, and Racing Point in third on 214. And the permutations as simple as this. Ferrari will win the Constructors if Red Bull fails to outscore Ferrari by 33 points, and if Racing Point fails to outscore Ferrari by 49 points. Got that? We'll try and remind you, of course, as we go into the formation lap. But Ferrari clearly in the driver's seat in terms of the Constructors.
Yeah, they have. They've basically got a race win fully ahead of Red Bull at the moment. So even if Ferrari have one driver DNFing and Red Bull have a driver winning the race, they're still going to need the second driver to end up beating the second Ferrari driver, which will probably end up being, no disrespect to him, will probably end up being Carlsby, although I don't think he's in the lobby at the moment. So that might be a bit of a hope for Red Bull. Likewise for the battle in second place in the championship, with Matthias being 14 points ahead of Laser. With the form Matthias has been showing, as long as he keeps it clean, you feel like he should be able to secure that runners-up slot, but you never know, strange things can happen. Laser has picked up a podium so far this season. Verstappen, even though he's a long way back, obviously got that win at the Mexico Grand Prix, another circuit where you can see some different strategies. He went for the one stop, where a lot of the other drivers thought that the two stop was the strategy to go for. We might see something similar tonight from the Alfa Romeo, but it gives the drivers something to fight for that are involved in that battle, and those that aren't involved in the battle might be able to relax a bit more, and we might see some really good performances from some unfamiliar names in this final race.
Yeah, I think to be honest, this season finale has got the look and feel of possibly seeing one of the names further down the field really trying to strike themselves out and make a name for themselves. We saw it with Bianchi last season. He's not here tonight, however, but Bianchi was a really, really good asset last season. I remember in Italy, he finished like on the podium last season, and he came into his own. Honestly, at the second half of the season, it could be the case where we see one of the guys further down the field that are going to be racing here for position. I'm betting my money that Lando is going to be shown a really good performance here tonight. He might have bottled last night in League of Europe Division 1 in Formula 2. The less we say about that, the better. But Lando has had really good consistent results about him. 9th on 87 points coming into tonight. Hey, I think he might be the one to watch. He might be the guy where people just sit up, recognise, and just be like, well, Lando could be a future champion.
Well, we thought that. About the halfway point of the season, we thought he might end up even being the champion this year, despite only joining after a few races. Had a win and the fastest lap in Austria on the alternate strategy. His second place behind his teammate in Britain. In fact, there was actually 2 1-2s in a row for Racing Point. But after that, he's missed a couple of races, not finished in a few. Apart from them 2 podiums, he hasn't finished in the top 5 once. So this would really be a good opportunity for him to put in a good performance. Just looking at some of the other drivers that we have got, that we might be able to see some decent drives from as we go down the order. Well, Chapelele, obviously, we saw some good performances from him last week. We've seen Verstappen get that win before. Zuidema we haven't seen for a while, to be perfectly honest with you. But he's always been in the points, so you never know whether someone like that could maybe put on a good show.
Hey, you never know indeed, and hopefully it is going to be fantastic to see how this racing is all going to unfold. We've only got 11 drivers, but so be it. It's the season finale. Let us get started then, and let us get straight into qualifying. Welcome along, everyone, to TTML Division 1. We are here for the season finale at Yas Island. For Season 3 of the Championship as we take in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix from the Yas Marina circuit. 3 compound of tyres are available to the guys out on track, and those are the C5, C4 and C3 compound of tyre, softs, mediums and the hards to you and me. And it could be quite an interesting race. 2-stop strategy probably going to be the order of the day, and we'll talk about strategies we get in towards qualifying. But we have a look then at this track map in question. Yas Island, 5.5 kilometres and then 21 turns with the 2 DRS zones. 1 down towards turn number 8 and then 1 down in towards turn number 11 out on track. And those are the main 2 overtaking areas as well out on track. Hopefully you're not going to be hanging like a cow like Nico Hulkenberg did out on track. But that was in, of course, 2018, but we now get in towards qualifying. And just a reminder about the Constructors' battle coming into tonight as well. Ferrari will win the Constructors' Championship if Red Bull fails to outscore Ferrari by 33 points at least, and if Racing Point fails to outscore Ferrari by at least 49 points. Got that? Right, we're into qualifying. 11 minutes, 1 minute gone, nobody's out on track.
No, nobody's out on track. I think we're going to see a lot of drivers trying to get into the top 10 on the mediums, because obviously there is only going to be one unfortunate soul who is going to miss out. So this is probably good news for them that are in the lead of their respective battles at the moment. So it's good news for Matthias as he tries to hold on to that second place in the championship. It's good news for the Ferrari drivers as they try to hold on to their constructors. But we might see a mixture. We might see some of the guys here. To be honest, some of those that we'd expect to see near the front might go for the mediums, and some of those that we'd expect to see a bit further back might think, I've got a chance of getting a pole position here and go for a lap on the soft tyres and maybe just go for that glory run. And you never know, we'll hopefully, if we do get these drivers going for different strategies, it might lead to an interesting race, because we might not know until the final couple of laps which driver and which strategy turns out to be the right one.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I think this qualifying session might be like none other that we've seen this season, but we have got cars out on track. And Laser, the first man out on track, he's on a set of medium compound tyres. And Laser is probably one of the guys to focus on actually coming into tonight. He's on 136 points, 14 points behind Matthias. Matthias is still in the pit lane as yet. But Laser, what does he have to do, ideally, to try and outscore Matthias here tonight?
Qualify as high up as possible and just get away cleanly. The first sector, it's not a long run towards turn 1. I think it actually might be one of the shortest on the calendar from the starting line from pole position. So if you qualify on pole, chances are you are going to be in the lead until at least turn 5. And you don't really see too many overtakes until the DRS gets activated. We've had the weather pop up on screen. 19 degrees air temperature. I didn't know it got that low in Abu Dhabi. 23 degrees track temperature. So these tyres are going to last a while. Those on the mediums, we might see them having to put in a couple of decent laps just to get them into their optimal temperature range. But we'll see how things go for Laser. But he's just got to try and focus on his own game. Not focus on purely beating the tyres. Just put in as good a job as possible, and I think qualifying on the mediums is going to give him the better chance.
Let's see him then as he comes now past the start-finish line on the run down in towards turn 1. Expect around the 134, 135 mark, perhaps, possibly on a set of medium compound tyres. He's out through turn 1, then through turn 2, and then through turn 3, as I like to call it, the car killer, if you have an unstable setup through there. And now through the first sector split to 16.7 through the first sector from Laser. So purple first sector so far. We'll see how that, of course, goes as we go through now, the hairpin at turn 7, and then on the run down towards turn number 8. There's his cockpit actually on the TV screen to the left-hand side. Now down pretty much the 1 kilometre straight here, running down in towards turn number 8. It's a very hard braking zone this, already reaching over 200 mile an hour as he reaches this braking point at 100 metre board, and now turns the car in. Through turn 8, through turn 9, where Hulkenberg was hanging like a cow, as I mentioned earlier on. Now through turn 10 and past the F2 pit straight to the right-hand side. Of course, the F2 don't start there anymore. They used to back in the mid-2010s. But now coming through, 56.3 through the middle sector, 39.6 through the middle sector for Laser as well. Carsbury is first, is quickest actually in the first sector with a 16.8. It's not looking too bad at all. There's a Red Bull just getting out of the way to the left-hand side as now Laser comes through this very tricky final sector. Triple right-hander as we call it now. Coming through turn 17, running the curve very nicely indeed as now Laser comes through turns number 18. And then through turn 19, catches the curve again, very nice. There could be an invalidation point later on in the session. Now through turn 20, run out wide here, and he will be invalidated, and now comes through the final corner. That is a lap then of the Abu Dhabi circuit, and Laser to the line to 133.1 to start off the evening.
Yeah, not a bad lap whatsoever to start on those medium tyres. Amity goes into second position. We'll see what Carlsberg can do, though, because he has gone for the soft tyres, and he's actually slower than Laser in the first 2 sectors, so not finding too much pace on those soft tyres at this moment in time. Comes across the line, and it's only a 133.850. He'd have definitely been hoping for better than that. Noon, he wasn't sure he was going to make it tonight, so I'm not sure how much practice he'd have done. He's heading now down this DRS straight, now on the run towards turns 8 and 9. Now, a very unique feature of this Abu Dhabi track, unlike Canada, unlike Australia, some other tracks where you see 2 DRS zones, one straight after the other, there's 2 separate detection points. So if you get overtaken into turn 8, you've got a fantastic chance to have a battle back out of 9 and 10 and on the run into turn 11. So that could be some tactical overtaking, or even tactical letting the car behind you by into turn 8 to make sure you have another chance of fighting back into turn 10, because apart from those parts of the track, it is pretty much follow the leader unless the car ahead makes a mistake.
Laser's still quickest. Verstappen's gone second, only 2 thousandths behind him out on track. Actually, it's a good lap there by Verstappen. Nuno is coming through the triple right-hander now in towards turn 17. It's a disaster. Middle sector, he runs wide again. It's a 33.9 it was through the middle sector, through turn 19. Surely this is an invalid lap now. He ran so wide there. He nearly got an invalidation, but looks still clean at this moment in time. It's now Noon. Comes through turn 20, takes the curb nicely. Coming through turn 21, now comes across the line. And it's a 133.7. Noon not up there at the pace at the minute. Carsbury goes 4th, of course. Lando was out there on a lap as well. He's just coming through the end of the first sector. And looking at his first sector, actually, he's invalidated on the first sector. So Lando, I'm afraid, has invalidated, and he'll be coming back into the pit lane. I think that has pretty much just then done the first few laps. Matthias Zerdemer, Schiaparelli, Nicholas, and Perpetuum not out on track just yet. So we've had half basically set laps and haven't set laps. 11 minutes to go in qualifying. It's that man there in the pit lane who's just came back in. Later out on top from Verstappen in second and Noon in third. 2 thousandths of a second separating the top 2. But I tell you what, there's only 7 tenths separating the top 5 as well. It's the yellow flag in sector 2, and I think that might be Lando.
I think it's Noon actually just coasting his way back, just letting Amity back through. Seems to be on another push lap here. Amity said you might see this on the medium tyres. Drivers do multiple laps. Oh, heading off there almost as if he was going to take the support pits, and for a split second there, I think he was tempted to head towards that. You can see that coming out of turn 9. It is easy to put the power down a bit too much and send your car snapping around like a 2021 Haas. I'm not too surprised not many drivers have headed out on track at the moment. We said a two-stop is a very possible strategy. You can make the one-stop work. I think as the game has become more progression in the game and drivers have got used to different setups, they are able to make the tyre wear just eke it out that bit longer. So don't be surprised if we do see a few more one-stops than we would have done in previous seasons. And they're just saving tyres at the moment in case there is safety cars in the race who want to have some fresh rubber left. Nicholas has just come out on an out lap, but yeah, very quiet at the moment. Laser the fastest, he's heading out back on track again on a set of softs. There is them 2 bonus points as well for pole position, let's not forget. That could make things a bit more tight in this battle for second.
Yeah, well, Liz will be picking up those 2 points if the session was to stop now. He just came out the pit lane as well. Carlsbury, though, goes to the top with a 1:33.1. That was his 3rd lap on a set of soft compounded tyres as well, which makes it even stranger for him to go on pull. I wonder, actually, if he tried to go push lap, then off lap, then push lap again, and then he'll come into the pit lane. So Carlsbury had on top the 1:33.1. I saw his first sector. He was purple in the first sector out of everyone. And I thought to myself, well, his middle sector hasn't updated. Surely he's invalidated or something out on track. But he goes to the top, ahead of Laser and Verstappen. Yeah, only by a tenth of a second or so, but it comes to show we are in for a very, very weird qualifying session.
Yeah, if I was him, I'd be hoping that every single person on this field, though, beats that time at the moment. Would you want to start the race on soft tyres that have done 3 hot laps, an in lap, an out lap, and a formation lap?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And if I was a driver around here, I'd be trying to go for 12th position, if I've got to be honest, to try and get a really good run in the race. Nicholas then coming around the final corner will take on board then his lap of this 5.5 kilometre circuit. Now Nicholas comes through turn 1, comes out wide, nearly hits the 50 metre board on the exit, but nicely done. So comes through turn 1, through turn 2, and then through car killer corner at turn 3. Takes it nice and flat through there. I'm not sure if he's actually using up any overtake mode. He actually is in ERS. 16.7 through the first sector from Nicholas, so he's there or thereabouts in terms of lap time so far. Cosby though out on top, Laser second and Verstappen in third. Laser's just started his lap in behind as well. But Nicholas through the first sector to 16.8, not the quickest we've seen so far, but the middle and the final sector is where we can really see trying to get a lot of improvements out on track. As now with 8 minutes to go in the session, Cosby out on top, Laser second, Verstappen in third. Nicholas now through turn 8, then coming through turn 9, catches the curve very nicely indeed. It was a lovely run coming through turn 9. Now opening up the second DRS zone here, running down the half-kilometre straight, running down in towards turn 11 with a little bit of a kink, of course, being turn 10. Lando off to the left-hand side there. Nicholas through the middle sector, again looking quick, 39.4, fastest out of everyone in the middle sector. Nicholas is going to try and make a statement here. The German, of course, who came last week in Brazil to try and retribute himself from the previous week in Mexico. Nicholas now coming through turn 17. Now in towards 18, underneath the grandstand at this point of the circuit, coming through turn 19, again running very, very close to the curb, but very, very nice indeed. Now comes out of 20, might have just invalidated there on the inside, but I'm not sure. He's right from the outside now, coming through 21, comes across the line, and Nicholas did invalidate coming out of turn 20, and unfortunately for him, that is not a lap time from him in. Later in the meantime, on a set of softs, he's purple in the first 2 sectors.
Yeah, that time would have been good enough as Nicholas to be miles on pole position, 7/10 of a second. It would have been, and I think Laser's just going to show exactly how much improvement you can get on a set of the soft tyres. 1:32.647 for him, puts him onto provisional pole position. Doing that quite late on for Nicholas obviously meant that he couldn't save any ERS and save a bit of tyres and have another go. We've now got Zuidema coming around the final few corners. A very tricky, very finicky final sector here at Abu Dhabi as he just runs wide coming out of the penultimate corner and invalidates his lap. There's more corners in the final sector than there is in the first 2 sectors combined. That lap would have been good enough for Zuidema to go into 4th place. Lando invalidated as well. Those track limits, like we said, already proving to be quite a problem for these drivers.
Yeah, it's really coming back to bite the drivers on the backside, I think, to be honest. Lando in 7th, obviously invalidated on this lap. We've got Matthias still in the pit lane, Ciaffolelli and Perpetuum still in the pit lane as well. I wonder if they're only going to go for one run, possibly as the track begins to heat up, possibly. 19-degree air temperature, 23-degree track temperature, as you mentioned earlier on. Later out on top, though, Cosby in 2nd, Verstappen in 3rd. I'm not sure if there's anybody actually on a lap time at this point. I think Ahmadi is coming through the final couple of corners. Now coming through 16 and then in towards turn number 17. out on track. And looking at his middle sector, he's 16.7 through the first, 39.6 through the middle. So he's there or thereabouts. He'd be looking to improve on a 133.9. Our Scotsman as he now comes through turn 20, and then towards the final corner at turn 21 with 5.5 minutes to go in the session. Later still out on top, Cosby second, but where's Armadi going to go? He goes third with a 133.196. Noon is on a lap time as well, but I believe he is invalidated.
Yeah, Noon has invalidated. Laser comes back towards the pit, so...
Oh, did he? Did Noon have damage actually coming into the pit lane?
He might have done, to be perfectly honest.
Right
It's a track where
side.
in the final sector you see a few tricky corners, and I think he has got a bit of damage. It's that's something we didn't talk about either. The pit lane is extremely tricky here. Everyone went on back in 2009 when this track was first used in Formula 1 about the exit to the pit lane. But from my own experience and seeing many drivers do it, the entry to the pit lane is quite tricky, especially if you've got a bit of damage. It's very easy to understeer, hit the pit lane wall, and either damage your foot wing more, or even take yourself out of the race.
Yeah, which will be a real shame, I think, if that happens, of course, to any of our drivers out on track. Schiaparelli, race winner last time out, is now out of the pit lane, which I'm very glad to report. And he's already got damage. How's he got damage on an outlap? I'm trying to think. Has he gone off where you mentioned turn 3 and got it? Has he got it wrong completely out of the pit lane and was not paying any attention? That's the only way I can think you've got damage this early on your lap. How is right, Matthias has just came out of the pit lane. I'm going to ride on board. Matthias is on a set of inters. Obviously, it's not a surprise because I've seen this done before. Obviously, drivers go on a set of inters and get a banker lap in, but. This session's just getting weirder and weirder. Schiaparelli coming through turn 18. We'll see if he is going to go on a lap. I highly doubt he is not going to go on a lap with this damage. So now comes through turn 20. Yeah, locks up and he's ran wide actually. And now comes straight back into the pit lane. And he's back in. And that'll be, well, not the end of his session. Matthias, though, in the meantime, is also out on a set of inters. And Perpetuum has just came out and he's on a set of mediums.
Yeah, part of it kind of sees what Matthias is doing. He's trying to get into the top 10 and start on a fresh set of tyres because Formula 1 isn't cruel enough that if you qualify on the intermediates and get into the top 10, it doesn't force you to start on that same set of intermediate tyres. But this plan for Matthias only works if someone else does the same thing at him. Nicholas and Perpetuum are clearly going out on a set of dry tyres. We've seen Lando, Zoidema and Schiaparelli do the same earlier, but none of them have managed to set a lap, so... Yeah, unless someone else joins Matthias on this, he'll be starting in last anyway, and he won't be learning anything from this lap. There's about a 1 in 10,000 chance, I think, if you're getting any rain on dynamic at Abu Dhabi. It can happen, but it is extremely rare. Although it looks like Schiaparelli might be going for the intermediates as well, so this might help him out ever so slightly. I'm interested to see what Perpetuum can do on this set of medium tyres. Don't be surprised if he slots it onto the front row of the grid.
Nicholas is on a lap as well, coming out through turn 2 and then through turn 3. Renault just coming out the pit lane, Zama D, the 133.196 at this moment in time. Nicholas now coming through turn 4. His first sector not actually looking too bad. It's a 16.6 through the first sector from Nicholas, and he is a reserve, of course, in the Mercedes. He now comes through turn 7 on this really long run down, 900 metres in length, running down in towards turn number 8 out on track. And Nicholas already on a good lap, it seems, out on track. Through the first sector as well, Matthias on a 19.2. Obviously, he's on a set of intermediate, so that is to be expected. And Carlsbury has just started up on another lap as well, so we'll see how he gets on later on. Perpetuum is also through the first sector, and he's a 16.7, so he's only 500 off Nicholas through the first sector. Nicholas now coming through the middle sector, however, and let's see his middle sector time. To 56 flat on the wheel to 39.4 in the middle sector from Nicholas. So really flying attacks the chicane. Coming through 11, 12 and 13. Now through 14, then toward the triple right-hander with the Yas Marina Bay on the right-hand side of the driver's eyes. Now comes through 16, and then through the triple right at 17. Then coming through turn number 18 underneath the grandstand. Now through 19. And again, really attacking on this lap is Nicholas as he tries to get ahead of Laser, ahead of Carlsbury and ahead of Armadi. Out on track through turn 20, through turn 21. Really attacks the final corner. This is going to be Paul, I think. Nicholas comes across the line, and he does, and it's a 132.2, and that's how you stamp your authority in this session. Laser is out on that lap as well. Perpetuum is responding middle sector 39.9. So he's actually 5/10 off the back of Nicholas. Obviously, he's on a set of medium competitor tyres, not on a set of softs. And the German now, the champion, coming through turn number 20, and then in towards the final corner at turn 21. This is a good lap actually by Perpetuum. Don't think he's going to go into the top 2 of the grid, but he should go third, I think, with this lap. Comes across the line, and he does go third with a 133 flat, and that is pretty much it from those guys at the minute. Carsbury is picked up a little bit of damage, I think, on the right side, and he's going slow, coming through the final couple of corners. Who else is on a lap? Lasers through the first sector, and Schiaparelli's on a lap as well.
Yeah, Schiaparelli is going for that intermediate, so he'll be aiming to beat Matthias' 158.952. Perpetuum, he was another driver to have a big slide coming through 8 and 9, so that definitely cost him, I'd say, 3 or 4 tenths of a second. He did gain some back by getting a little bit of a cheeky slipstream from Schiaparelli, who was trying to move out of the way, but Perpetuum, perhaps unsurprisingly, decided to take as much advantage as possible. I'd say he's looking very good in that third place at the moment to get that second win of the season. Checkered flag is now out. Who have we got on a hot lap? Nicholas is coming back to the pit. Imad improving slightly in the middle sector at this moment in time. He's about 0.02 of a second up on his personal best, so doesn't need much of an improvement to get himself ahead of Carlsbury and maybe even ahead of Perpetuum as well into the top 3 for the Renault driver, which would be a fantastic feat for him this season. Heads towards the finish line, gains a lot of time in that final sector, 132.762 for him. Laser now improving ever so slightly. I think it's only going to be enough to keep him in second position.
He will 39.4 through the middle sector. Laser now coming out the final corner. Has he found a lot of time though in this final sector? No, 32.4. He goes second, so good luck there from him. I'm indeed third. Perpetuum in fourth. Carlsbury is on a lap though through the middle sector. 39.5, so he's actually only a tenth off Laser through that middle sector, and he's down on Laser's first sector as well. So I think he could go third, possibly if he gets a really good final sector in here, the Finn. Now comes through turn 21, and car number 13 out on track. Could it be unlucky for some? Not unlucky for Carlsbury. He goes up to fourth with a 132.8 out on track. Noon is out on a lap as well, and he is a 39.5 coming through the middle sector. Of course, we're seeing now drivers on a set of intersetting a lap. Schiaparelli going a second quicker than Matthias there on that lap. Lando is coming through the final couple of corners as well, and actually Lando just about missed him. He went fourth, the 132.796. Can Noon try and find, very close to the wall, coming out through turn 19, now through 20, and the Red Bull absolutely flies through there. Is he going to try and improve? He's down in the first sector, down in the middle sector, comes across the line, and he goes sixth with a 133 flat. That is the end of qualifying with Imad on a down lap. He's about to come into the pit lane. He's trying to feel Nicholas on top, Laser in second, Imad in third. I did say that somebody further down the field could make their authority. Well, Nicholas has.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Fantastic qualifying from him. Perpetuum, Verstappen, Schiaparelli, Matthias and Zuiderman. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th at this moment in time. Carlsbury, thankfully for him, did set a faster lap on that end of the session, so he's only going to have to start on tyres that have done 2 hot laps rather than 3, but I won't be surprised to see him dropping down at the start of the race. This is going to be a very intriguing race indeed. It might prove that sometimes you don't need a full grid to have an exciting race. Clearly going to be 2 main strategies between the top 6 and I reckon the bottom 5. Any early safety cars though could just swing the balance one way or another. Hopefully it should be a fantastic finale.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic finale regardless as we approach now the final few seconds. Imad just back into his pit lane box, and that is the end of qualifying as Latifi, Grosjean and Stroll and the likes come up there at the bottom. Nicholas on top by 0.2 of a second, from Laser in second, Imad in third, Lando in fourth, Cosby in fifth. Actually top 5 is separated by 5.5 tenths, so not too bad going at all, with especially Imad, Lando and Cosby buying 0.05 of a second between themselves. Noon in sixth, Perpetuum in seventh, Verstappen in eighth, Schiaparelli and Matthias ignore their lap times. They set on a set of inters, they're 9th and 10th, and Zuiderman not getting a lap in 11th position. But Nicholas holding the key to the fort at the minute. Laser in second, Imad in third. This is going to be one fascinating race, and more importantly, Laser has outqualified Matthias.
Yeah, he has indeed. That is good news. Matthias obviously down in 10th position. Him, Schiaparelli and Zuiderman will have a fresh set of tyres to start the race on. I imagine it will be the mediums starting down there. I'm really intrigued to see how this goes. You've got some drivers. Well, Nicholas hasn't shown too bad pace so far in the couple of races that he's done. Laser's obviously still got a chance of getting second in the championship, but Imad, his best result so far this season, the 7th in Italy in that wet dry race. So generally when it's been dry, we've not seen him up towards the front of the field too often. So will he be able to cork in the bottle, or will he surprise us around Abu Dhabi? We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. Let's get the track map up in question as well. 5.554 kilometres and then 3.4 miles. C5, C4 and C3 compound tyres, the softs, mediums and the hards available to the drivers. 28 laps, 18 minutes worth of qualifying is done. And now we're into the session, of course. And what I can report, of course, as it always is around Abu Dhabi, it's going to be dry. You know what's going to be dry around here in Abu Dhabi. 30 seconds then, the countdown has just started within the lobby at the Aspen Arena Circuit Place holds here to the final round of the championship. Are we going to get an absolute ball fest like the organisers like to put on around here in real life Formula 1? Or are we going to get an instant classic? 11 drivers, remember, quality over quantity.
Yeah, definitely. You should, like we said, Abu Dhabi, and you find this with a lot of circuits on this game, maybe with the exception of Monaco, unless it rains, because at the end of the day, Monaco is Monaco, and you can't pass there. I reckon I'd give myself a 50-50 chance of winning that race in my Ford Focus if I just weaved on the straights. But yeah, we are underway then for the formation. I think it'll be a fantastic race, to be perfectly honest with you.
I've got a very weird camera glitch. Oh, there we go. Let's fix itself. That was very weird. I was right on board with everyone. They were all in the TV pod, like on board with the cockpit. And I couldn't get out of it. And then through turn 3, it's just suddenly... anyways, just ignore me. Just ignore me. Top 6 qualified on a set of soft compound of tyre, of course. Everyone else has pretty much got a free choice of tyre. Perpetuum and Verstappen, of course, qualified on that set. Schiaparelli, Matthias didn't. Zerdemer didn't either. He went on for a set of mediums. And the bottom 5 of the group, essentially we've got a ratio of 6-5 here. Nicholas down to Noon on a set of softs. Perpetuum down to Zerdemer on a set of mediums. What strategy will work better?
I always prefer starting on the harder tyre earlier on, as a man who's well versed to starting outside the top 10 in pretty much, I think, every league race I've done, barring 2. I still don't quite know how that happened. So yeah, I'd rather be on the mediums. Probably going, if I was doing this, I'd probably go for the 2-stop. Medium, soft, soft. It's a bit more of an aggressive strategy. What those top 6 drivers have got to do, though, is try and get away from those behind them. Break that 1 second window before the end of lap 2. That is going to be their best chance of any one of them 6 claiming the victory. If Perpetuum, Verstappen, Schiaparelli, Matthias, Zidema, if they're just hanging on to the back of them at the end of the first couple of laps, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get away. And of course, the race will come towards those on the medium tyres. If I had to predict a podium for the race, it wouldn't surprise me if the top 3 of the medium runners end up the top 3 in this race.
Interesting. So you're going Perpetuum, Verstappen, Schiaparelli?
I am indeed.
You are indeed. I didn't even need to ask you for a top 3. You just said it out there, making a very bold prediction as you were. Reminder as well, in terms of Constructors' standings, Ferrari will win the Constructors if Red Bull fails to outscore Ferrari by 33 points, and if Racing Point fails to outscore Ferrari by 49 points. The final cars are then joining up on the grid. I can hear you guys at home. Are you ready? Are we ready? Everyone now sinks in. 5 red lights now on. Oh, actually, we get a bit of a glitch. 5 red lights will be coming on. The revving engines are now coming on, and the lights out, and away we go. And Nicholas gets a very good start. He's got a good start as well. And look at Lando trying to make it 3 wide, running down and towards turn 1. on the outside line. Lando, he tries to dive it down the inside line. Caught up in another incident, and Nicholas leads the way by 0.8 of a second. Laser in second, Armady in third. Carsby in fourth. 3 into 1. Really doesn't go in towards turn 1. Carsby's hanging off the attention of Noon. Perpetuum's trying to dive it down the inside as well, and Schiaparelli just in the background of shot, but everyone pretty much clean through apart from that contact with Lando. Nicholas, though, has already got a second lead over Laser as we come down through the first half of a lap.
Yeah, I think what actually happened is Lando realised he couldn't go 3 wide, backed out of it, and Carlsbury didn't have time to react and end up quite a hefty hit into the back of the racing point, but thankfully for him, he hasn't managed to get any damage. Schiaparelli, like you said, has jumped Perpetuum in these early stages. Nicholas just got everything hooked up on the start, and Laser quite slow getting away to give Imadi and, of course, Lando a chance to try and get alongside him. I don't think he'll be too happy with his start, but this could be ideal for the Mercedes driver if he can get a second away early on.
Verstappen tries to go around the outside of Perpetuum, running down in towards turn 11. Perpetuum hangs on to the inside line. Verstappen locked up, overcommitted himself on the brake. Schiaparelli overcommitted himself there, coming through turn 13 now. Perpetuum right on the back of his fellow countryman, just in front. Williams against Ferrari. Ferrari, of course, reliant on 2 drivers. Schiaparelli absolutely sends it down in towards 17, he locks up, and he's locking up completely again in towards 18. Verstappen's down the inside line of him, and Schiaparelli might have a problem here. Either his tyres are at minus 200 degrees or something. He's letting everyone through. Surely his tyres are completely gone off the start, and he's going to be into the pit lane, in fact, is Schiaparelli. I wonder if he's going for a new set of rubber. Oh, and he's crashed into the pit lane! Schiaparelli crashes into the pit lane. Left side end plate damage on the car. He overcommitted too much. That has got to be minus 200 degree glitch. Surely.
I think it is. He's retired from the session as well. He had no damage before that, but he had pace up until that, coming into that final sector, because he got past Perpetuum earlier on, and then it's like his tyres have just completely fallen off a cliff. Like, absolutely frozen. So such a shame for Schiaparelli. That's what you get for predicting him to end up getting on the podium. So I apologise for the commentator's curse, but there we go in there. That is what's happened to him. Freeze Perpetuum, of course, and Verstappen, Matthias, Zoidema, all those that are behind. Lando's got very tiny amount of front wing damage, but he'll be able to carry on at least until the pits. And it turns out in the end, Schiaparelli, his controller died.
Oh, his controller died. That's an absolute disaster for Schiaparelli. Obviously, if you're like me, you put your controller on charge before the race. There you are. Perpetuum in 6th position, Verstappen in 7th, Matthias in 8th, Zerdema in 9th position, Lando as well. On a set of soft compounded tyres, we should begin to see, I think, mediums begin to overrun the softs in terms of the tyre compound, in terms of the degradation out on track. On board with Perpetuum, our champion, of course, from last week in Brazil. Wrapped it up finishing in P3. Nicholas still leading. He's controlling the race to a very big degree out on track. Lasers there in 2nd, I'm a D in 3rd, Carsbury in 4th, Noon in 5th as we approach the end of lap 2. Nicholas on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side now coming through. Turn 21 leads the way, and Laser sets the new fastest lap of the race, purple through all 3 sectors.
Yeah, Laser's found a bit more pace at this moment in time. The man who I'd been worried about getting stuck behind at the moment is Carsbury, because we know he has got, well, in qualifying, he'd done more runs on his tyres than some of the others. So they're looking at the tyre wear at the moment. It's comparable to all of those drivers ahead of him. So perhaps being a bit lighter on his tyres on an out lap and an in lap, crucially, if he got a chance to set his in lap, because the AI can be a bit tough on the tyres if you end up letting them take yourself for an in lap. But he's not doing too bad at this moment in time. The top 2 seem to be getting away, though, from those behind, which is probably a good job for those when it comes to strategy. It does give itself a bit more freedom, and the field is staying fairly close together, so when it is time for the soft runners to come into the pits, they should have a bit of plenty of free air to use, whether it's the mediums or the soft tyres that they end up going for on their next stop, which will give us a hint, perhaps, if they're going for a 1-stop or a 2-stop. If they're going for a 2-stop strategy, probably see those on the soft tyres coming round about 8 or 9, lap number 8 or 9. If they're going for a 1-stop, it'll be more like 11 or 12.
Yeah, when we commented on here in EML last season, I think in Abu Dhabi, I know for a fact that drivers were starting to pit in from about lap 5 out on tracks. It could be the case where obviously they want to go set of hards and then for set of softs towards the end of the race. Who knows what is going to affect. Laser, though, in the meantime, as Perpetuum and Noon have just picked up the first 3-second time penalties of tonight, and that's through turn 18, I think, where they've picked them up. Nicholas leading the way, though, by 0.6 of a second from Laser in second, and Laser has now broken the DRS. As actually, Noon is into the pit lane. So Noon is into the pits. Verstappen sets a new fastest lap of the race, and if that's anything to go by, I did say, normally pitting in earlier on around here, lap 4, lap 5 will serve you good. Later on in the race, Noon is into the pit lane. Lando also from a fresh set of softs. He's going to be into the pit lane as well for a fresh set of mediums, I believe, going on that car. And now we're really beginning to see the mediums beginning to overrun in terms of the softs. Yeah,
this is a medium strategy then. There's no way they're getting to the end on that set of mediums. This is soft medium, fully committed to a 2-stop strategy at the moment. So now they're now hoping that they can use the power of that undercut, maybe force a few other drivers ahead of them to come into the pits a bit earlier. But I agree with you, it does look as though now the medium tyres are looking slightly faster. At the lead of the race, Nicholas has got a bit deep into turn 8 and 9, and Laser's at a huge moment, so he won't be able to fight back, and that allows Imedy to get through. Carsbury is going to get very close as well. He should be able to get past the McLaren driver as well, so he was on the attack there. It looked as though he was going to have a fantastic opportunity to have a go at Vapor Nicholas. In the end, a bit too heavy on the right foot, drops down to 4th place, but luckily for him, avoided the wall.
Yeah, luckily for him, he did avoid the wall coming through turn 9. Verstappen on the back of Perpetuum has just picked up a 3-second time. In fact, Laser's attacking the back of Carlsby running down into 17. Armady just ran out wide coming through 17 there, but it's now 2 seconds the gap between Nicholas and Armady. Laser, in terms of that spin, really, really costly. I think if there's any time to come in, it could be now, because he's behind Carlsby, he's behind Armady as well. He's going to stay in front of the laps. He's not going to listen to B-Tech Jeff here in the commentary box. Nicholas out on top by 2.1 seconds from Armady in second, Cosby in third. Chapelletti, of course, understandably leaving the session after his controller disconnected from the race, and he is now obviously down in 11th position, not picking up any points. But actually, in terms of the top 10, all of these guys are going to be picking up what? A minimum of 10 points out on track?
Yeah, I think so. So let's say Matthias finishes in 10th place, just as a devil's advocate here for the championship. If Matthias finishes in 10th, as long as he finishes this race, Laser's got to finish in at least 2nd place, which after that spin is looking a lot less likely at the moment. So Matthias probably not in a bad place here, and this helps Ferrari drivers, who again have now just got to finish the race. 9th and 10th position for them. I think Red Bull would pretty much need a 1-2 to have a realistic chance of taking the championship here. Perpetuum's looking very feisty behind Laser at this moment in time, and Carlsby right on the back of Imad as well. This should be a move round the outside. Imad running very low on the ERS at the moment. That is a nice straightforward manoeuvre as Verstappen looking down the inside of Perpetuum here into turn 11. Is he going to be able to pull it off? No, he's not in the end. I don't think Perpetuum was expecting that, and now Matthias very opportunistic.
Yeah, Matthias has lost Verstappen nearly lost the position there. They're going side by side, coming through 15, 16 and 17. And actually, Matthias just let him go. Verstappen is back through and he's into 6th position. Matthias now down into 7th, but really beginning to see the fight begin to be taken by a few of these drivers out on track, which is good to see. Nicholas, though, leading the way by 2.3 seconds. He's getting away out on track as Perpetuum has gone through on Laser. Laser, I think, let him through there. He's into the pit lane from a set of soft compound tyre. Carlsby also in for a set of soft from a set of soft compound tyre. They're probably going to go on the medium strategy towards the end of this race. Probably a 2-stop, an aggressive 2-stop, as Luke mentioned, as Cosby's in, certainly for a set of mediums. Laser also in for a set of mediums. I wonder where they're going to come out in the whole regards of Noon out on track. I'll get the track map up to the right-hand side. Noon's running down in towards turn 1. Noon's surely going to get both of them. And he has.
Well, Noon, last lap around was a 137.7. The next fastest person was Perpetuum on a 138.6. So that's how good the mediums are. And look at Lando setting the fastest lap of the race. Yeah, Noon well clear of Carlsby and Laser. So now if you're Nicholas and Imad, you can't do the same thing as everyone. You can't pit this lap, go for a set of mediums, and then maybe another set of mediums at the end of the race. You've either got to stretch these softs out long enough so you can run another set of softs and then the mediums, or medium softs as a 2-stop, or run a set of mediums towards the end and really stretch these softs out so you only have to do a 1-stop. Perpetuum now gets past Imad into 2nd position, so this could make it very interesting. It's going to be one of those races where strategy is key, but one of those races where you're not going to know until the final few laps who has pulled off the best strategy.
Just speaking about Perpetuum getting through, he literally went to the other side of the track to try and get the move done, which he did in an actual fact. He was taking no chances and no obligations against Imad out on track. I believe both of them have had contact so far this season, earlier on certainly. So maybe that's just been wary for Perpetuum. Imad now dropping down. Leader's still going. Nicholas still going. Imad still going as well. So they're committed at least another lap. Their pit window is actually open as Perpetuum gets a right moment coming out the final corner there. Nearly sent towards the pit wall. He loses 0.3 of a second as a result. But now he should begin to assert his authority over 2nd position. I wonder how much he's going to actually catch on Nicholas this lap. I'm thinking it'll be about a second at the end of this lap.
Yeah, those mediums will be looking very good at this moment in time compared to the softs. The mediums don't wear too much around this track. It's just the pace difference with the tyres can be absolutely huge. The hard tyres especially. I've seen drivers go for a set of hard tyres. Someone else has gone for the softs, pitted, gone for another set of softs, and easily been able to catch them up, as that lack of ERS on Imad and lack of grip on those soft tyres is really costing him. Verstappen flies past him. Matthias flies past him as well, and that's good news for the pair of them because they were starting to get stuck behind the Renault driver, and I think Zydermo will be hoping at the back of this train that he's able to get past the Renault driver soon, because if he stays behind him in this middle sector, it's going to be really difficult and he could find himself dropping off the back of this pack.
Yeah, and he is going to be dropping off the back of this pack, possibly as Armady still holds on into 5th. Zerdimer in 6th. We're on board with them now coming through 12 and 13. We are a quarter of the way through. Nicholas leading the way, Perpetuum in 2nd, Verstappen in 3rd, Matthias in 4th. Not the most exciting race, I've got to say, of the season so far, but maybe go and grab a cup of tea. You might hold up towards the end of the race. Nicholas out on top though, Perpetuum in 2nd, Verstappen in 3rd. 1.4 seconds is the gap actually towards the end of this lap from Perpetuum. If you run on board with Zerdimer on the back of Armady, Armady might have to pit this lap. Matthias is on the back of Verstappen as well. He's going to try and pressurise, of course. Matthias in 2nd position coming into the standings tonight. Verstappen, I believe, in 5th. So Verstappen needs to outscore Matthias to have any sort of chance to try and get a possible run at 2nd position out on track. But Nicholas leading the way from Perpetuum in 2nd, Verstappen in 3rd. Zerdimer, though, right on the back of Armady. I think he might have a go down towards turn 4 if he's really got the nerve to try and go for the move. And in fact, he doesn't listen to me. Nobody listens to me. He stays in 6th.
No, he doesn't. I think Nicholas and Armady have decided to listen to me, though, and gone for something different on these soft tyres, because the power of the undercut, they'd have ended up coming out well behind Noon in the end. But I think this is going to be straightforward for Armady. He's just going to fly past Armady. You can see the power of the medium tyres now. Perpetuum is within half a second of Nicholas, and I think coming out of turn 11, we could well be having a new race leader.
We could be indeed. Perpetuum run on the back of Nicholas, 0.3 of a second separating the Ferrari against the AlphaTauri, now running down the Mercedes, I should say, running down the straight. Perpetuum, oh my god, it was so close to the wall on the inside line. I tell you what, Nicholas just let him through in the end, but the two Germans going at it, Ferrari against Mercedes. Nicholas picks up a 3-second time penalty now as well, but Perpetuum out on top, 0.4 of a second. That gap is only going to increase over the course of this final sector. Nicholas in 2nd, and meanwhile, in the meantime, Carsbury and Noon were side by side, and Carsbury now through, Ferrari through on Red Bull. He's through and he's into 7th. Noon maybe coming back to bite with that earlier pit stop compared to Carsbury. Carsbury now through into 7th, and now he's got Laser right on the back, but this is actually going to trouble Laser. And this actually, if Noon holds up Laser, and Noon was to try and get the move done on Carsbury as well, this three-way battle could really affect these guys going forward and could give Perpetuum a possible run at the net lead.
He could do indeed, but he's looking very good at the moment. He cleared Nicholas fairly straightforward. I'm sure Verstappen will be hoping either this lap or next lap he can get through just as easily as well. But Carsbury's not showing too bad pace in that middle sector. Whether Noon's made a slight mistake somewhere, he has got slightly older tyres, and I mean slightly. We're talking a few percent here at the moment. Carsbury 12%, Noon on 19%, so definitely not enough for the lack of pace at the moment. But yeah, Noon almost dropping outside of DRS range here. If I was Laser, I'd be seeing this and thinking, I need to get a hurry up and I need to get past him as soon as possible. Not though by trying the old Charles Leclerc Alex Albon from 2017 in Formula 2 by bumping into the back of him onto the DRS straight. He's had a fantastic run here, and Noon not bothering to use any ERS, just letting that happen. Laser up into 8th.
Yeah, Laser through and he's into 8th. Noon now down into 9th. I have a feeling Noon's going to try and battle back with this one, though. The Brit against his fellow countryman, and actually Laser just pulls away. Coming out through turn 9, and Laser pulls away. Noon not again bothering to use up any ERS. He knows his days are really numbered on that compounder tyre. Now down into 9th position, Noon, Laser and 8th, and now he can send after Carsbury out on track. So literally what I said, if Laser got held up by Noon for quite a few laps in this race, then it could have helped really Perpetuum. It could still turn effect if Carsbury and Laser begin to battle and then Noon was to come back into it, but Laser in 8th position on the back of Carsbury. Nicholas in the meantime, it's Matthias is out of the race, and there goes his chances for 2nd. He's actually crashed it. My god, the rear wheels are off that car. Matthias, off coming through turn 20, has he tried to recover the car into the pit lane and then just spun? Oh, that's really strange.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Armady, though, he's taken full advantage of this into the pits onto a set of medium tyres. It's still going to be a bit of a stretch to do a one-stop from here, so this could well be a two-stop strategy going onto the softs at the end of the race. DRS has been re-enabled. We are back to green flag, so he gained a couple of seconds by coming into the pits on that lap, but not as much as I think he would have been hoping for. The VSC dealt with very quickly. But yeah, this is a big news for that championship, obviously. If Laser stays in 6th place at the moment, they would be tied on points, but Matthias would take it by the virtue of he's at a 2nd place, and Laser's best finish is a 3rd position. So this battle between Laser and Carsbury, for the McLaren driver, is a battle for 2nd in the championship.
Nicholas getting caught on the curb, coming out of turn 9. Verstappen absolutely sails on by. It's as if he's just entered the race going past him. Verstappen is through, and he's into second. Nicholas now down into third. Laser now on the back of Carlsbury as well, and this is going to be a really intriguing fight. The Ferrari has not got any DRS out on track, and Laser is just going to be offered the inside line, and Laser is now through, and he's into fifth. How easy was that one? Laser through, and he's into fifth position. Carlsbury now down to sixth. Noon is dropping off the back of these guys, and now with clear road. If I was in Laser and Carlsbury's position, I'd be wanting to work together. I'd be wanting to try and get Noon off my back, try and get closer to Zerdimer, who's on 9-lap old mediums. 10.9 seconds the gap. If these guys work together, this gap could come down in absolutely no time. And look at that, 10.6 seconds, so it is working.
Oh! Sorry to interrupt, James. Nicholas has understeered into the pit wall. His chances of getting any decent result of this race have gone out of the window. Major front wing damage for Nicholas. He's now dropped well behind Zoidberg. He's behind Laser and all those other drivers before he comes into the pits. He's going for another set of softs. It was looking like a two-stop, but he's going to have to change his front wing, and that is an absolute disaster for the Mercedes driver. Just makes things look a little bit nicer for Perpetuum and all those that pitted a bit earlier on.
He goes on to set us off compound tyres, and that, I'm afraid, is Nicholas's chances, possibly of the race win, possibly of a podium as well. Now, well and truly shot. He needs a safety car for him to come back into this, I've got to be honest. Perpetuum, though, is out on top, 1.9 seconds the gap. This is the quietest point now in the race. We are going to see Perpetuum, Verstappen and Zerdimer come into the pit lane, I would say quite soonish. 49% actually on Verstappen's rear right tyre, compared to 45% on Perpetuum. The rear right likes to take the hit around this track. In behind, though, Zerdimer's doing a fantastic job in terms of his tyre wear. He's only on 39%. Zerdimer actually could outgun Perpetuum and Verstappen by a couple of laps. Can he get a one-stop?
He can indeed. He's looking very good, I'd say, for the one-stop at this moment in time. Perpetuum and Verstappen can still do it. They'll probably come into the pits round about lap 16 as Perpetuum has a massive slide coming around turn 19 there. So we'll see if he piles off towards the pit lane at this moment in time. No, he doesn't. Verstappen stays out as well, and surely Zerdimer will stay out with a decent set of tyres. So the longer this goes, if they don't come in this lap, that says to me they're going till around lap 15 or 16. They are trying out this one-stop strategy with everyone else behind them having committed to a two-stop strategy by the looks of things. I think it's going to be very tough for anyone outside that top three at the moment to get back into the top three, unless, of course, we have a safety car right in the pit window.
Yeah, it definitely is. We're only on lap 12 out of 28, but we've already had our fair share of action here in Abu Dhabi. Organisers really aren't paying us enough to cover this race. Nicholas has just picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings again. I think that puts him on 6 or 9 seconds now, if I'm not mistaken. I'll take a quick look to the right-hand side. 6 seconds now. The rest, Perpetuum, Verstappen, Noon and Lando, all on 3-second time penalties. Not 3-second compounded tyres. Goodness me, if they're on 3-second compounded tyres, they'd be gone before lap 1. Noon on the back of Carlsbury for 5th and 6th position. The Red Bull against the back of the Ferrari. And in fact, Carlsbury is trying to catch back up to the back of Laser as well. But Laser has just pinpointed that, and he's now in 4th position as now Noon tries to get onto the back of Carlsbury. No ERS usage being used. DRS is being used though by Noon, I should say. And Noon stays in 6th. Carlsbury in 7th. I'm a D trying to get onto the back of Lando. Lando actually recovering well in retrospect compared to the likes of Nicholas and Armady, who's now fallen behind him. Nicholas is 15.3 seconds, of course. That gap is going to come down. But I'm a D on the back of Lando. I think 6 lap pressure tyres. I mean, Lando's on what, 32% on his tyres? And Armady's on 9%. It's about 25% worth of tyres inferior for Armady. Surely he's going to get the move done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, surely he should have a chance. And to be honest, in about 6 or 7 laps' time, Lando's probably coming piling into the pits anyway. Or if Lando has still got a bit of pace, and judging by just pure pace, if you put these two on tracks in the same car on the same tyres that have the same life, you'd expect Lando to be slightly faster. So maybe Armady might just get dragged on ever so slightly by Lando. The only bad downside to that is he'll use up a bit more of his tyres, and he might find it very tricky coming through turn 3, where you can definitely oversteer in the dirty air, but at least he'll be able to save a bit of fuel and maybe save a bit of ERS, because he did look to be struggling with his ERS management earlier in the race, and that is one of the closest battles on track. That one and Carlsbury and Noon as well. The top three seem to be fairly spread out at the moment. 2.5 seconds between Perpetuum and Verstappen, 2.2 between Verstappen and Zuidema.
Yeah, it's very consistent, I think, the gap for the top two and the top three as well out on track. Noon just making a slight mistake there. He was 6.5 tenths off on the back, and Noon tries to get the back of Carlsbury running down the straight. He's just sitting back and waiting for his opportunity to arise. Do you know what? If I was Noon, I'd be putting Carlsbury under a lot of pressure at this stage. Right on board with him now. He's putting himself under a lot of pressure by making a little few niggly errors out on track on a lap basis. Carlsbury still in 5th, Noon in 6th. Lando under pressure now from Armady as well. And Armady trying to get quicker as this session goes on in this race. Perpetuum, though, 2.8 seconds ahead, and he is into the pit lane as he nearly crashes coming into the pit lane. Goodness me. Perpetuum then is in. Zuidema I don't think has came in, and Verstappen hasn't came in either. So actually the guy on the second most worn compound tyres out the top three in, and he's gone for a set of softs. This is 2-stop.
Yeah, this is 2-stop. This is softs towards the end of the race. I was going to say, you don't use a set of hards on this track unless you really want to challenge yourself all of a sudden. Where is he going to come out? He should, I think, be just there. Well, he's actually going to be just behind, I think, Imady and Lando, which is less than ideal, being stuck in a queue. He should have so much more grip. You might be able to get past Imady straight into turn 5 here. He taps him up the back into turn 5, and there we go. Nothing Imady can do about that, and I don't think there'll be a lot Lando can do about it heading into turn 7 as well. But this is an aggressive strategy, and if I was Verstappen and Zuidema, I'd be like, right, we know the overcut doesn't work at this track, we've got to go long.
They have got to go long. Verstappen and Zuidema, I'm sure, will be in the same party, and I'm sure they'll be working together as Perpetuum absolutely sails on by Lando. Lando's probably thinking, where on earth have you came from? Well, the German's through and he's into 6th position. Lando now down into 7th. Imady now down into 8th position. And Imady, I'm afraid to say, he got tapped up the rear end and he just got essentially forced out the way by Perpetuum, running down towards turn number 4. But the German is through and he's into 6th position. Noon still trying to hunt on the back of Carlsbury. He's only got 2 lap older tyres, but I tell you what, his tyres are in very good nick. 38% on that rear right compound tyre compared to Carlsbury on 32%. In fact, it's Carlsbury's front right where he's locking up the most, 35%. So actually, Noon's tyres aren't too far off Carlsbury's tyres in terms of the percentage. And he's 2 lap older tyres, which will be about 10% around this track.
Yeah, I did see Carlsbury sliding quite a lot earlier on. At turn 3, for example, one of the corners you mentioned, and coming out of turn 1 as well. So did seem to be struggling with a tiny bit of grip as Lando into the pit. So this is another set of mediums to get him towards the end of the race. Coming in, I think, maybe just now that he's been passed by Perpetuum, he's thinking, right, he's flown by, I might as well try something different, as Nicholas showing the pace of the soft tyres with the fastest lap of the race. This gives Lando plenty of clear air behind him. Yeah, Noon's doing a good job on his tyres. If I was him, though, I'd want to get the move done shortly, because Perpetuum is going to be flying up to the back of you soon, and that might just make things a bit awkward. You can easily lose time when you've got another car involved. So Noon, whether he's going to be thinking about making the move, whether he's going to be thinking of following his XL, stablemate Lando into the pits and going for a set of medium tyres, because I do think Carlsbury is holding the Red Bull up at this moment in time.
Now using up the overtake mode, and I think Noon recognises that Perpetuum is going to be on the back of him sooner rather than later. Switches to the inside line. It's going to be job done, I think, for Noon. He comes in front of Carlsbury, running down towards turn 11, and that is the job done. He's up into 4th position, but I'm afraid to say Perpetuum is now 2 seconds. It's 1.9, it's 1.8, and Perpetuum, that gap is just coming down. He's going to be on the back of these, running down the next straight, not down towards turn 1, but on the next straight next time around. He could possibly get these two. We could see 3 wide, possibly as well, but Noon and Carlsbury, 4th and 5th, getting hunted down by a man who's on much fresher tyres, and already look at the gap. It's 7 tenths of a second, and Perpetuum is absolutely flying around here as Noon just decides, you know what, I'm into the pit and I want to try something different. Carlsbury now under pressure from Perpetuum, and the 2 Ferraris are about to go at it as Perpetuum bangs in the new fastest lap.
Yeah, I think this is going to be easier than every single move Michael Schumacher pulled off on Rubens Barrichello in his career. Even if Carlsbury wanted to make it difficult, he's not going to be able to at this moment in time. Look at this. It's going to be a carbon copy of what happened to Imady. Straight down the inside into turn 5. Job done. Thank you very much. I'll take that 4th position. What could determine this race is where Perpetuum is when he's catching up to some of these guys ahead of him. If he catches up to them in Sector 1 and Sector 2, he can breeze by. If he catches up to them in Sector 3, he's going to find it very difficult. So that's the hope, maybe, for Verstappen, or Spags Goat, as we might refer to him now, seeing as that's what Spag seems to be calling him in the chat. He thinks the dub is on at the moment. I'm not so sure, because he has got that penalty. Perpetuum's looking very quick, so Verstappen, he's got a bit of work to do at this moment in time. I think, though, the front two will be coming in this lap or next lap.
If I was in Perpetuum's shoes, honestly, I'd be wanting to see when Laser actually comes into the pit lane. If Laser comes in within the next couple of laps and he goes on for a set of softs, I don't think they're going to make it towards the end of the race. If Perpetuum stays out then, and stays on that set of soft compounded tyre, he could actually take the race lead, the net race lead currently, off Laser, but he will take the actual race lead once Verstappen and Zerdemer come into the pit lane as well. And speaking of Verstappen and Zerdemer, they're still going around out on track, first and second, 1.7 seconds the gap as Verstappen is now into the pit lane and Zerdemer stays out. So Zerdemer stays out, but Verstappen into the pit lane. I would say he was going to respond to Perpetuum coming into the pits, but that's now a complete no-go as Perpetuum is through and he's into third now. Later being hunted down, still Verstappen then into the pits, and this is for a set of, just trying to see, soft compounded tyre. So Verstappen is in. Is that a soft compounded tyre? 11 laps? Are they going to get to the end? I don't think they are.
And I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be absolutely fine. Yes, he's got 12 laps to do on them, but we saw some of the drivers earlier doing about 9 or 10 laps. Admittedly, Nicholas had a massive understeer moment on the 10-lap-old soft tyres, but Verstappen's not aiming to come into the pits again, and the cars are a lot lighter. You're putting less wear on the tyres into every single corner as Perpetuum's going to breeze past Laser here to take second position, so he will be back in the lead of this race. Well, at the end of this lap, he's probably going to be right on the back of Zoidema at the end of this lap. So Perpetuum flying around at the moment, getting, you could say, slightly fortunate with the traffic. He is catching it up in nice places at this moment in time. Now we'll see what Verstappen can do. Importantly for him, he also came out in free air, but he can't afford to go all guns blazing like Perpetuum is. If he does want to get those tyres towards the end, Perpetuum, he can just drive the old school F1 way and just flat out towards the finish because he's got no tyre wear issues, because no matter how careful he is, he's going to have to pit again.
Yeah, Perpetuum on the back of Zerdemer. Zerdemer still leading the way, but for how long? For how many corners longer? Is he going to be in front? That is probably the F. And actually, Perpetuum picks up another 3-second time penalty, but he doesn't care. He wants to try and go around the outside of turn 20. He tries to switch to the inside line. Zerdemer, I think, is going to come into the pit lane. He does come into the pit lane. Gives Perpetuum a little bit of a worry slightly, but Perpetuum now into the lead of the race, and now he can absolutely push for this race win out on track. Laser is now behind him, but if Laser stays within a second, honestly, this could go either way. Perpetuum, 8 tenths of a second leading, coming through turn 3. Laser now 9 tenths behind. The gap is still dropping out to Laser. 9.5 tenths as we approach now the end of the first sector. But with 10 laps to go, the hot seat clearly in Perpetuum's hands. Laser though in second. And Zerdemer obviously into the pit lane. Nicholas also into the pit lane as well. And Zerdemer's actually just came out behind Lando. So he's in a relatively good position as well to try and attack Noon and Lando as well. And it could be an all-XL party, which we could be seeing in the Teams Championship tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this goes now. Laser wasn't able to stay within DRS range. The question is now, when do Laser and Carlsbury come into the pits? When does Armady, which I think he does need to come into the pits again. I think he pitted a bit too early to stretch it out onto a one-stop strategy on them medium tyres. When do Laser and Carlsbury now come into the pits? And when they do come into the pits, what tyres do they put on? I think another couple of laps to make sure you can get a set of soft tyres. Maybe Laser can pull off a massive undercut here on Perpetuum, because when you look at the gap between Verstappen, and Zoidema, it was about 2 seconds before the pit stop. It's now about 8.4 seconds all of a sudden. That is how much more pace fresh soft tyres have got on this circuit.
And look at the ERS consumption as well out on track. Perpetuum, 54% of ERS coming through the final couple of corners. Laser is trying to keep up on 14%, and in fact, Laser is into the pit lane now to try and respond to Perpetuum. He's going to go on to a set of soft compounded tyre towards the end of the race, and now Laser has got to come out in clear air. There is no shadow of a doubt about this. He's got to come out in clear air if he's got a chance to try. I'm not so sure though. I think he might come out where Zerdemer actually is. Now coming through, Noon is coming past the start finish line. There's Lando, there's Zerdemer. This is going to be mightily close, I think, with Laser and Zerdemer coming out the pit lane. If Laser's ahead of Zerdemer, good. If Laser's behind Zerdemer, not that great, because Zerdemer has actually undercut him. Zerdemer has undercut him out on track, and Laser now has got to try and push on the back of Perpetuum, but Perpetuum leading, Carlsbury in second, Armady in third. Laser coming up behind Zerdemer. I think that's big trouble.
Yeah, that's not ideal whatsoever, but it just shows how close the different strategies are here. The fact that he's done 2 stops, Zuiderma's done 1 stop, and they basically come out in the same place at this moment in time. So having fresh tyres can really help you and can really help you gain that pit stop, which is what Perpetuum's hoping at the moment. He's 7 seconds in the lead of this race. The downside for Perpetuum is he has 6 seconds off penalties. Zuiderma and Laser have none at this moment in time. So Perpetuum, I think, is going to take the win out on track at the moment. That's what I think is going to happen. But he's going to have a bit of a fight on his hands to end up taking the victory at the end of the penalties, as Laser sent one down the inside of Zuiderma, gets himself that first time penalty, but he might think that's worth it into 7th position.
Yeah, and of course, Perpetuum out on track has got 6 seconds worth of penalties. Laser has now got 3 seconds. So, in actual fact, Laser, I think, has got to be within 3 seconds of Perpetuum to try and take the race win. Carlsbury is into the pit lane now, and this is going to be interesting in terms of Carlsbury. Where's he going to come out in terms of Zuiderma? Yeah, I think he's going to be behind Zuiderma out on track, but understandably, he's going to have much fresher soft compound tyres towards the end of the race, so this could be quite close, actually, between Zuiderma and Carlsbury. In fact, it's not going to be close, because there we go, already past camera shot. Carlsbury's going to be about 4 or 5 seconds, possibly, coming out the pit lane and behind. But that man there, Perpetuum, leads the way by 10.3 seconds, a commanding advantage at this moment in time. But I feel he is going to have to come into the pit lane again to try and respond to Laser. Laser is understandably now in clear air. He's got Lando in front, he's got Noon in front. 1.3 seconds is the gap between Lando and Laser at this stage. ERS consumption from Laser is not that great. 11% running down the straight. Again, uses up that overtake mode, running down the stretch to try and catch these guys. Lando, though, is in DRS and is pulling away. If I was Laser, honestly, at this point, I want to save up my ERS as much as possible. There's no way he's going to get Lando by the end of this lap. And in fact, Lando's going to go past Noon, running down the straight here, down in towards 10-11. They're split wide across the track, but Lando is soon. He's into 4th position in the racing point. Noon now down into 5th. Laser, I don't think he's going to be catching these guys. Certainly towards the end of this lap, he will. It's now 1.1 seconds as soon as I say that. He's just within DRS range. But honestly, this final sector, he's got to save up that. He's got to save up that ERS. Otherwise, he's got no chance in terms of Perpetuum.
Yeah, it's a very tough circuit, this one, for ERS usage. Once you start running low, it's extremely difficult to try and get back to it. I think this is why a few of the drivers wish we could take from 2019 the no ERS usage mode, because ideally that's what you do in the final sector. It's very stop-start. You don't want to be using a lot of ERS, if any, as Noon picks up another penalty. And because he's so low at the moment, and Noon and Lando are both hovering around the 50-60% point, he's going to get the DRS off them, but Noon's just going to be able to use a bit of overtake and fight back, and even Lando might be able to use the overtake to hold on to that position. Further up the field, though, Verstappen! That was a bit impatient from Verstappen there, trying to get down the inside of Armadi. You were going to have DRS anyway, and I think you've just cost yourself a couple of tenths of a second there. Thankfully, Armadi saw him coming, but that is Verstappen up into 2nd, and net leader of this race at the moment, because he won't be coming into the pits again.
And he might be the one to actually watch out for in this race. Verstappen, we don't think he's going to be coming into the pit lane. I'm really unsure if he's going to actually get those tyres towards the end of the race, because I have seen puncture territory begin to happen from about 70% around this track. Lando 4th, Noon in 5th, one ball with the Laser though on the back of both the XL drivers out on track. TTG against XL. Of course, you can tune in to EML Premier and EML League 1 tomorrow night as well. The Teams Championship going to be taking place, and it's going to be Aidan Carter and yourself, if I'm not mistaken, for League 1, and myself and Daniel Hogarth taking through the action for Premier 7 o'clock and 8:30 if you were interested in viewing that. In the meantime, we've got a bit of a preview for that. XL against TTG. I'm not sure if they're within that. I'm not even sure if XL are in the Teams Championship, but it's good to try and give them a bit of footing, as actually Perpetuum into the pit lane. On goes a fresh set of softs. Where's he going to come out? I think he might come up behind Laser here.
I do as well. It could be pretty close between Perpetuum and Zuiderma. Actually, I was going to say that's a lap earlier than I expected, but I think he had to, just to try and ensure he did stay out ahead of all these guys. This is going to be very close indeed. Laser's coming out of the pits, and I think he has just pulled out ahead of Perpetuum, and now this is going to be a bit tougher. And this is what we meant about traffic management. Nicholas has got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane and is retired in the race, so we are down to 8 runners. Perpetuum, he's got to clear his way for all these guys. He's tapped Laser into the back of Noon, and that's given Laser a fantastic chance to get the overtake done. Perpetuum is going to be able to fight back as well. He might be able to get the pair of them here because he's got plenty of ERS. Is it going to gap open? Down the inside on the run down towards turn 8. Surely Perpetuum on the inside line is going to get it. Oh, he's no going to go down the outside. There's contact. Laser, I think, there went into the back of Perpetuum, and Lando's made a mistake as well. Perpetuum has lost an end plate.
Perpetuum's lost an end plate. Lando spun by himself as well. Laser trying to be sandwiched between them both. Lando's now going to have a go Perpetuum for third position. It's all kicking off all of a sudden here in Abu Dhabi. Who would have thought Abu Dhabi would bring us action? Lando, Perpetuum. Perpetuum's got right side end plate damage on that car. Lando trying to fight around the outside line. Laser, though, has got no damage in behind. He is trying to fight now on the back of Perpetuum. And now we'll try and get the Ferrari and the Racing Point just ahead, but Racing Point ahead of Ferrari in terms of the drivers, in terms of the constructors currently out on track. But Perpetuum fourth, Laser now fifth. Goodness me, that was like ping pong running through the hairpin, and then it was pretty much like table football running down in towards turn 8 with the drivers really scoring their own goals. Perpetuum was miles out wide coming out the final corner. Laser now right on the back. One lap 23 out of 28. If you thought the action was going to be very boring towards the end of the race, think again.
Yeah, think again. And remember at Mexico when we all thought the two-stop strategy was the conventional thing to do and Verstappen managed to stretch a one-stop into a win? That has just looked a lot more likely all of a sudden now with Perpetuum having that front wing damage because, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he's got slightly fresher tyres. He could still go as fast as Verstappen. I don't think he's got a chance in hell of managing to catch up that gap. And that was all caused by Noon and Laser got together and then Lando had his own separate incident. Perpetuum was thinking, oh, thank God I avoided that. And all of a sudden he finds a Racing Point sideways in front of him.
Yeah, such shame for Lando. He's still in fourth position, actually. He spun earlier on, of course, on lap 1. I got caught in contact coming through on lap 1. Perpetuum in third, Lando in fourth, Laser in fifth. Zodimer is not entirely out of this, I don't think, either. He's 8 tenths off. He's got relatively clear air compared to these guys. Perpetuum and Lando are about to go for a battle for third. I'm a D. If I was I'm a D, would I go towards the end of the race on a set of mediums and try and nick second?
Why not? Why not? If you pit now, you're guaranteeing you're in 7th place at best. I'd say. You might go for the glory. You're not in a championship hunt. You can get yourself a podium here. All of a sudden, if you can hang on to those tyres towards the end, he's looking at the tyre wear that he's on at this moment in time. He's going to be at about 75%, I think, at the end of this race. So if he does get a puncture, I think he'll only get it on the final lap of the race. I say just stay out there.
Go for it, because if he's wearing away at about 4% a lap, in fact, he's going to be under 70%, I think, towards the end of the race. So I'm a D in a really, really good position to pick up second position here, possibly for his first podium of the season as well. Lando now on the back of Perpetuum, running down in towards turn 4. Verstappen still leading the way. I'm a D in second and Perpetuum in third. Verstappen now in the driving seat of this race, out on track. Later, now right and behind on the back of Lando and Perpetuum. To remind you of the penalties as well, Verstappen 3 seconds, Perpetuum and Lando 6. Laser on 3, Carsbury 3, and Noon well out of this on 6 seconds, I should say. There's now Laser's right on the back of Lando. Lando is going to go side by side with Perpetuum. Looks to the outside line. He actually runs into the back of him nearly. Perpetuum stays third. Lando and Laser, though, right on the back. And Zodimer not entirely out of this either. We now switch back to the position changes. 5 positions gained for Zodimer right on track. 4 for Perpetuum. 7 for Verstappen. Verstappen surely on for in-game fans driver of the day. Whether he gets voted our driver of the day towards the end of the race is a different thing. As Verstappen pulls away for Armady. But honestly, looking at that gap between Verstappen and Armady, yes, Armady's just made a slight mistake. 5.9 seconds. Armady's surely going to cut into that before the end.
He is indeed, and if Verstappen gets one more penalty, things are going to get pretty touchy-feeling. I think the problem Armady's got is that Perpetuum, Lando, Laser and Zodimer are all going to be on the back of him on the final couple of laps of the race, where he's going to be taking it very steady indeed, and then it's easier to pick up a penalty, it's easier to forget about your tyre wear, and maybe get a puncture. Hopefully we don't see any more incidents, but Laser's right on the back of Lando here. Is he going to have a move down the inside into turn 1? This would be an extremely brave move down the inside. There's a bit of contact between the two of them. And Zodimer hasn't got enough pace to be able to take advantage of this, and we are getting a preview of the XL versus TTG battle that we might be seeing tomorrow around Monza. They're just getting a few early blows in. I don't think either of these drivers are actually going to be driving for any of the teams, which might be good news for them, because I imagine they're sick to death of seeing each other by the end of tonight.
I think they will be sick to death, to be honest, and they'll be sick of me, maybe even commentating over them as well. Of course, I think you and Aiden are commentating over them tomorrow night. Lando on the back of Perpetuum once again. Lando will try and look at Perpetuum, running down and towards turn 8. Beautiful halo cams. We run on board then with 3.5 laps to go, really, if you're being picky. Verstappen leading the way from Armadi in second, Perpetuum in third, Lando in fourth. Laser in fifth at this moment in time, but Laser now trying to get onto the back of Lando. Lando is going to have a go at Perpetuum. He's got about 6% worth of VRS on that car. Perpetuum in third position, and I'm looking at his steering wheel, and he's got 57%, I think, of ERS out on track. So Perpetuum doing a very good job out on track in terms of his ERS. I must be blind, actually, because it said 27%, I think. 40% now on track for Perpetuum. Lando on the back, Laser, Zerdimer. Where's Carlsbury came from?
Yeah, we forgot about Carlsbury. It's like, Perpetuum is struggling with the front wing damage. He's got so much more pace, though, than Armadi ahead of him. Lando and Laser and even Zydemer have got no ERS, so they can't really overtake at the moment. It wouldn't surprise me if Carlsbury ends up forcing his way up the field as Lando now gets another 3-second time penalty. They're all reeling in Armadi. He's only 2 seconds ahead of these drivers with 3 laps to go. Verstappen's just driving out nice and safely at the front of the field. He's not even on 50% tyre wear on any of his tyres, so he should comfortably get those towards the end of the race. But who's going to finish second out on track? Pretty much anyone out of 6 drivers at the moment.
Yeah, it's like a solo cyclist against the peloton, basically, in the Tour de France. That's what we are seeing out on track. A solo Formula 1 car, in terms of Renault of Armadi, against Perpetuum on 3-lap soft compounder tyres, on much fresher tyres, beginning to try and hunt him down. 1.4 seconds is the gap. Lando in third. Lando in fourth, I should say, later in fifth. And Zerdimer has been overtaken by Carlsbury. Carlsbury's got really good straight line speed in that Ferrari to get through, and he's into 6th position. Zerdimer has got no penalties out on track. Zerdimer could be actually ending up in the podium at this stage, and now here comes Laser on the back of Lando. Lando's tyres now finally beginning to give way, perhaps. Laser on the outside line. Laser tries to pinpoint him, goes around the outside, coming through turn 11, doesn't quite pull it off, and Lando remains in P4 for now. Laser will be entitled to have a few more goals, though, at the back of Lando. Lando doing a full-on good job in 4th position. Now, it's pretty much a 6-way fight for 2nd position.
Yeah, Armadi's just seen them all closing behind him like the T-Rex in the rivers in Jurassic Park. All of a sudden, he's going to have a pretty hard job getting away with them. I wasn't sure whether to go T-Rex in Jurassic Park or Johnny Depp running away from everyone in Pirates of the Caribbean, but those were the 2 things that were on my mind at that moment. The reason why Carlsbury found it so easy to get the overtake done, he's got about 50% more DRS than everyone in this train, so the DRS negates itself, but it's like he has a second boost with using his electrical energy. He could fly past all of these guys. Perpetuum will be glad that he's going to get DRS off Armadi, who's really starting to struggle on that set of medium tyres. He's done a very good job, but I think he's now wishing that he'd maybe gone a lap earlier, a lap longer, earlier on in the race, as Noon gets a penalty, and Laser and Carlsbury are touching each other. That's Zydemer through, maybe.
Yeah, Carlsbury's got damage. Zerdimer tries to go around the outside. I think it's right side end plate damage for Carlsbury. He lost it. I think he tapped the back end of Laser. Here's Perpetuum, by the way, on the back of Armadi. It's going to be like Doncaster Rovers' hope of trying to get into the playoff this season in League One. Perpetuum in second. Armadi now in third. I'm very, very sorry that I've just said that. Lando in fourth. Laser in fifth. Perpetuum, though, picks a 3-second time penalty. But Armadi is still within a chance of getting second. Lando, though, now on the back. Can he try and get the run on the Scotsman? Running down, a lot of lag coming from Lando's end. Can he actually get to the end of the race without lagging out the session? Verstappen has pretty much won this. Verstappen has won this, hands down, unless he gets a puncture. Perpetuum runs miles out wide, though, coming out through the final couple of corners there, the middle sector into the final sector. Lando on the back for Armadi. 1 more lap to go. Lando tries to dive it down the inside of Armadi. Doesn't get the car stopped, and Laser's still in the behind as well.
Yeah, Verstappen absolutely miles ahead, which must be unique for you, seeing someone who's in red and white absolutely streaking away at the top. But yeah, final lap of the race, Verstappen leading, Perpetuum in second, Armadi in third. He's just got to keep it clean on penalties, and he could well get himself a podium here, because Perpetuum's going to have to gain 4.7 seconds on this lap alone. I think the biggest worry for Armadi is that Lando, Laser, Carlsbury, Zydemer, or maybe all 4 at once, ending up sending it down the inside on him at some point in the race. But yeah, fantastic race by Verstappen so far. Perpetuum's looking good for second on track. Now it's who's going to finish third on track. Is Lando going to send one into turn 5? No, decides to wait. Decides to be patient.
I was going to say he's going to go into the hairpin, but I don't think He's close enough. I think it's a good run out for now. He's out of DRS range on Perpetuum. That's what's going to hurt him most. And it's literally going to be like a train going past him at about 200 mile an hour running down the straight. Laser's actually going to try and get both of them. Trying to get both of them down the inside line. Lando onto the final. Up we go. Lando's third. Laser fourth. I'm a D. Still trying to hang in there. Laser's around the outside. There's a little bit of contact. I think he was going to get them moved in anyways. Apart from that contact, he is now through and he's into fourth. He can try and hunt down Lando. Half a lap to go. Verstappen, though, that man there is out in front. Perpetuum in second. Lando in third. Still everyone falling in the line. In behind. I'm a D. Fifth. Cosby sixth. Zerdimer in seventh. Zerdimer could actually get a podium as a result of this. Perpetuum is streaking away, but Verstappen is streaking away out in front, coming through turn 18 for the final time here in Abu Dhabi in what has been a very long race, I've got to say. Verstappen now coming around the final couple of corners. Cosby's right on the back of Armadine. In fact, he's through, trying to go through turn 17. Verstappen, though, is coming around the final corner. Verstappen comes across the line to win, and the fireworks fly off in the Abu Dhabi sky. Cosby is through and he's into fifth. I've literally had to avoid going on board with him with Verstappen.
Oh, Perpetuum! Oh, it was a good job the finish line was there, because he actually floored it across the finish line and crashed before and got away with it. And I'm a D gets second and Zayden third.
Unbelievable. And that's what no penalties can do to you around this track. Verstappen has won by 10.2 seconds in the end. A very comfortable win, but I'm a D on, 70-odd% tyres. 70% tyres towards the end of the race. He finishes in second. Zerdimer with, 47% tyres. He finishes in third on a set of soft components. So it's really good wear. Really good tyre wear there from Zerdimer out on track. Lando has left the session in 7th position. Obviously, Noon now coming around the final corner. It's been a disaster for him. Is he going to treat us to some season finale donuts? No. Absolutely disgraceful from Noon. No donuts to end off the season.
Yeah, shameful behaviour. I'd say that's a season ban, to be honest.
Driver of the day, voted by the in-game fans, is XL Zerdimer out on track. But Verstappen takes another win this season. A really good win from the Dutchman out on track. And in the end, he just commanded the race.
He did indeed. And I'm just trying to have a look at the championship standings at this moment in time. Verstappen's on 150, tied with Matthias. Where did Laser end up finishing across the line?
Laser, I think, ended up finishing in 5th. I'm tempted to say...
He's finished in 5th. He's taken it. He's finished in 4th, so he's taken second place in the championship. I think by about 3 or 4 points from... He's 4 points ahead of Matthias and Verstappen, who ends up taking 3rd place in the championship.
Wow. Big permutations, which obviously we didn't commit to before the race, but Verstappen has won. It's his 2nd win of the season, its 2nd podium as well of the season. That's a really good stat to have. Verstappen wins. I'm a D's best result of the season. He finished 10th. His best result was 10th. And he's finished 2nd in Abu Dhabi in the season finale. Zerdimer in 3rd. Laser in 4th. Cosby in 5th. Perpetuum in 6th. Lando in 7th. Noon in 8th. Those are the top 8 that have finished. A minimum of 12 points, I think, go to everyone there. Nicholas in 9th. Matthias in 10th. Chapel in 11th. Perpetuum, by the way, picking up the fastest lap of the race as well. And that is that.
Yeah, that is that.
Top 3 in.
Yeah, we'll try and get them in. I think they'll all be fairly happy with how that went. It would have been interesting to see how that race would have gone. If Perpetuum hadn't picked up that damage, I'd imagine he would have got past Verstappen. It's just whether he'd got three seconds past Verstappen, but unfortunately, we'll never know that. And yeah, Verstappen pulled it off the one stop absolutely brilliantly. I'm a D, I think, with a bit of maybe a late decision to go for the one stop, but pulling it off equally as brilliantly, and him and Zayden are gaining hugely by the fact that they got no penalties, and that massive train at the end just sort of helped them, because Zayden, I think, just knew he could afford to stay behind, and he'd get rewarded.
He did get rewarded, and Verstappen, of course, got rewarded with the race win as well. I'm sure we're going to see the top guys in, and looking at the Discord, I'll have a look at the chat in just a second as well. I'm sure Luke is already working on trying to get the top 3 in. Matthias saying he was pretty consistent, I guess, and lucky that some big guys didn't drive that often. So he obviously picks up towards the top end of the field. Lando, 6/10 in the final sector, lost, he said, and Verstappen with a 1:50.1 world record time.
Yeah, I think that was a reference to Chapelele's fantastic qualifying time, and I bet Chapelele's really glad he bothered qualifying on the intermediates after his controller decided that it no longer fancied steering. So if we did offer any prize money, I was going to say to Chapelele, use it to maybe buy yourself a cheap pad for a bit.
Oh, I did say in the Discord as well, he must have been, he thinks higher wings should have been run, and he should have stayed on the wheel. Well, he should have stayed on the wheel because he won last week, and then look what happened this week. Verstappen, though, is here in the chat, and Verstappen, you have taken your second win of the season in, 3 races, I think? Talk us through how it went.
Yeah, hello, James. Yeah, it was quite an interesting one, of course, a bit low attendance, so a bit unfortunate, of course, to see that. Which meant I could qualify on the mediums in qualifying. Got P8, decent lap in, and then just kind of sat back for the first half of the race. Got a few penalties, so I wasn't really too happy with it all. And after that, Perpetuum drove away, and I thought like he's gonna win the race, and I need to be lucky to have a chance here. And at that point, on lap 13, I see him going in for softs, and I thought that's surely 2-stop, and in the end it was. And I was planning to do a 1-stop. So then I thought, yeah, I have a pretty big shot at the win here. And pitting on lap 16 myself, coming out, I think it was like P5, P6. Anyway, a few other guys pit, and then I was just waiting for Perpetuum to pit. He pit, and I think he got damaged when he got into battles with a few other cars, and yeah, that's basically made it a lot easier for me, and I could drive away.
And you did drive away, and you commanded the race in the end by 10.2 seconds, I think, out on track. Was it always your intention to go for the 1-stop?
Yes, simply from qualifying onwards, I was determined to go for the 1-stop there.
Determined to go for the 1-stop, and it definitely worked out on track. And I believe we're doing quick maths here in the commentary box, but I believe you've picked up 3rd in the championship.
That's quite nice to hear, if that's true. Yeah, quite happy with that, especially since the season not going my way, especially in the start of the season. Last couple of races I picked it up a bit more, so I'm happy to come on that 3rd place then.
Yeah, final question before I move on to Luke as well. Luke, go ahead. It's just gone completely off my mind.
No worries. Congratulations, Verstappen, on 2nd victory, as James said, in pretty short succession this season. The king of the making the 1-stop work when everyone else is going for the 2 stops. We'll have to think of a catchier title than that. You've not signed up for next season, I believe, as I'm trying to look at the sign-ups at the moment. So you're not signed up for next season, but does this give you hope that if you do make a return maybe on F1 2021, you might be able to challenge for the championship?
Yeah, it definitely could happen, of course. With the new game, pace could shift all over the place, so it's a bit uncertain. But yeah, for next season, it's not. I don't think I'll be able to sign up, as I think they close on Friday, don't they? So yeah, I'm just not going to be able to commit to a season. But maybe I'll be back in the future, indeed, and be happy to join you in TTML.
And hopefully James has started to remember what question he was going to ask. That's a no.
No. You're not signing up for next season either, which is a real shame. But you get to enjoy me on a Saturday night, so you can't really get rid of me that often.
I don't think I'll be able to get rid of you at all, but I think that's a good thing, so...
Well, I hope it's a good thing. Better be a good thing.
It definitely is, James.
Good. Go on and enjoy your evening.
Yeah, thank you.
I will now move on to the man who probably in his wildest imagination thought he wouldn't get a P3 out on track. He did. Zerdimer is in the party with us, and Zerdimer, really good drive from you out on track. No penalties out on track as well, and that's what brought you onto the podium.
Yeah, I have to say that with 11 drivers, it's a lot easier to get a good result, I guess. And I knew penalties are a problem here for a lot of people, and I'm usually pretty good on penalties. So if I had the pace, I was hoping for at least a decent result, but not like a podium, I guess. But it was just a lot of people had problems in the race, and I just benefited from it. Like, that's basically my whole race summarized.
Well, let's just go into that in a bit more detail, because obviously everyone in front of you pretty much fell over themselves. Like Carlsbury, Laser, Perpetuum, they all started to make contact later on in the race. Obviously, first question, was it in your intention to go one stop? Which I'm assuming the answer is yes. And secondly, did you ever imagine that you would get on to third?
Yeah, the one stop was always the plan. I've done that before on this track, and I knew it was probably the fastest strat, especially on fresh tires. What was the second question? Oh, if I didn't expect a podium, but I expected like at least a decent result if I can keep it clean.
Yeah,
and which
decent
happened.
result. Yeah, decent result, of course, did happen for you. Luke, any questions?
Yeah, congratulations on the podium. In the final few laps of this race, it was getting fairly hectic, I think it's fair to say, with about 6 cars fighting for second place. You knew you didn't have any penalties. Were you attempted just to try and stay behind, knowing that you'd gain a few places, or did you want to make it up on track?
I was just happy sitting back, because on my old softs I knew it was kind of hard to like do anything on track. So I just wanted to like lose as less time as possible just to stay in penalty range with everyone. So I was kind of scared when was it Laser and Carlsbury who collided. I was kind of scared that was gonna screw me over, but in the end it all still went well, I guess.
Yeah, that's the only question I've got, James.
I'm not sure if you're signed up for next season, if I'm not mistaken. I've heard on the grapevine that you might not be.
I've not signed up, no. I'm trying to do not as many F1 races for the rest of this game. So I'll probably be back for next game, but for now I just want to end all my seasons and keep this game alone, or leave this game alone.
Well, you can't leave the game alone because you're doing, of course, Division 1 with me on a Monday. You cannot get rid of me like that.
Yeah, that's F2. I was wondering, what race is that?
So you're not getting rid of the game entirely. That's the thing.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, every league I'm in right now, I'm going to finish that season, and then it's done for me for this game, basically.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, obviously, we're getting toward the end of the game cycle as well, and I think many drivers are now pretty much pig sick of the game, is what I'm going to say. But, Zerdimer, go and enjoy your evening. It's been fantastic talking to you, as always.
Thank you. You too.
And that is it for TTML Season 3, Division 1. We made it to the end of the season. Not a Kieran McGinley in sight, not a posh F1 Esports in sight either. And we have now made it to the end of the season in TTML Season 3. Luke, we'll come to you. What was your overall highlight of the season?
Overall highlight... Oh, there's been so many. If I had to pick one race that sticks... Well, there's a couple of races that stick out for me, like battling-wise, from the start of the season. Round 1, we had that fantastic three-way battle between Amazing Hour, Medium Pilot, and Perpetuum. It's just a shame for different reasons that Amazing Hour and Medium Pilot had to pull out. Amazing Hour becoming a reserve, Medium Pilot... Who knows what happened to him? I think disappearing off the face of the planet after taking the victory at Silverstone. It'd been great to see a three-way battle between them. Spain, we saw some fantastic battling as well. Recon and Machiro, with 2 Alpha Tauris, showed so much promise. Things didn't go to plan. And then at Austria, Lando's absolute joy and bewilderment in the post-race interview that he actually managed to win that race after starting in 11th was just fantastic.
Yeah, it was just fantastic. And I totally agree with what you said. Certainly with Amazing Hour, I know for a fact that he was trying to cut down on a few leagues. I think he's trying to put himself more into the EML no assists as well, which he's been really good at so far, and that's been fantastic to see. My overall highlight of the season has been Luke joining me in the commentary box for a second season in a row. That's the only one I could think of, and of course to Tom, our graphics man, of course. We couldn't run the show without you, my friend, and it's been a fantastic, fantastic privilege to work alongside you again. For Season 4, you will be very pleased to know we'll be back in the commentary box in 2 weeks' time for TTML Division 1, Season 4. I nearly said Division 4, Season 4. You're not dropping down with me to Division 4, are you, Luke? Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. And that is it. And the calendar, of course, we go to Britain. Mark this in your calendar, 13th of April, Division 1, TTML. We are back at Britain for the first round of the championship. And I couldn't think of a better place to start off a season.
Yeah, just like the original season, that way back in 1950, starting off a season, and the final one on the game, so it'll be interesting to see who finishes off F1 2020 on a high.
Yeah, and whoever decided to put China round 3 and Singapore round 10, I'm really not a fan of you, if I've got to be honest, for that calendar choice. Singapore, last race of the season, that's all I'm saying. Britain, though, Japan, China, Canada, Hungary, Belgium, Russia, Mexico, USA, and Singapore are the 10 tracks we're going to be going around. 13th of April, mark that in your calendar right now. We are going to be back live then, but for myself... Actually, no, we'll do it properly. For the final time this season, I've been James Head.
I've been Luke Etheridge.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Please stay safe in this crazy world that we all live in, and we will see you next time.
It's true, everything they say about me. I'll love you like a supernova, burn into you like a shooting star. If you give me your whole life, I would still have room for more, cause I've got that appetite. Baby, I never feel whole. You might get me through the night, but it will never be enough. It will never be enough, cause I'm a black girl for your love.
Oh no, that is what they all say when they see me pouring some wine. Oh, think it's empty again. Better fill it up before I go. Cause I'm loving it, feeling it, touch me and being it. See what I see in it, I'm typical. Messing around with it, mix it up, go with it, fuck with it, flow with it, let it all go. Oh Lord, think you know what I'm like, but you don't fall, you lose control. Bittersweet melody when I dance on your floor. Cause I know what you don't, it is me you adore. How does it feel to breathe when you're dead? They never seen you out of your bed. Cut to the bone, it's broken up and how sad. Oh boy, got so hot I forgot what I should have thought of before. Sure ain't easy for you to let go of the rules, cause there's so much fun. Are you loving the feeling it? Touch me, are you in it? Don't see what you're seeing, but typical. Messing around with it, mix it up, go with it, fuck with it, flow with it, please let it go. Oh no, think I did it again. I said a few things that I shouldn't have done. Well, sweet melody when I dance on your flight. 'Cause I know what you don't. It is me you adore. How does it feel to breathe when you're dead? They've never seen you out of your bed. Cut to the bone, it's broken, I bet. How sad. How does it feel to breathe when you're dead? They've never seen you out of your bed. Cut to the bone, it's broken, I bet. Now come alive with me and quit the jealousy. I know you're bored, I know it's boring me. Now come alive, baby, get out the grave with me. I know you're bored. How does it feel to breathe when you're dead? They've never seen you out of your bed. Cut to the bone, it's broken, I bet. How sad. How does it feel to breathe when you're dead? They've never seen you out of your bed. Cut to the bone, it's broken, I bet. How does it feel to breathe when you're dead? They've never seen you out of your bed. Cut to the bone, it's broken, I bet. How sad.
Oh darling, if I had bought you flowers, would you still be here by my side? Yeah, I thought this moment could be ours. While I'm walking on you through the night, you can break my bones, break all the promises, but leave me alone. Don't break my heart. You should fucking stay with him. You should fucking stay with him.